Gonna give it a second, wait for the stream to go through. So it looks like it's going through now. Okay. Welcome to the Women of Soul Aligned Business Podcast. I'm Joe Che, and I help women uncover their soul purpose and build their business through group and one-on-one mentorships, where we build all those kind of annoying masculine structures, project management, technology, AI, and databases. So passive income can come in and you can really just expand your impact in the world while staying in your feminine essence. And I'm here with Carrie McGilvray, and she is the founder and CEO of the Admin Superheroes. And they're known for transforming these all the business operations into powered, efficient systems. They help plug in leaders and VAs, and it's in a very playful way, but that allows for some growth, creativity, and connection. So, welcome, Carrie.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I really want to jump right into it and talk about a woman is starting her first year in business. She's getting set up. What are sort of the first systems and processes you recommend to get in place so that you can start getting into doing what you really care about?
So, some of those things that I think that they should really start with is some really good finance management.
Mm.
So, when you first start a business, a lot of the time, especially here in Australia, you start as a sole trader. So, you know, there's no rules around what you can spend and what you have to put away and how to put away for leave and things like that. And I think if you get into some really good habits at the beginning, it allows you to grow really quickly, and it also gives you buffers for the times that you may have clients drop off or change over and things like that. It's really important to make sure that you're financially stable. So that's a really important thing to set up at the beginning, and some software to help do that.
So, like so finance management, as you're saying, one of the first things to get into place. Are you using like Zero Online, QuickBooks, Zoho Books? What would you recommend that you found to be the easiest? Especially for women that maybe don't love the technology and maybe don't have experience with that.
Yeah, so one of my favorite softwares is actually Rounded. It's
Grounded,
Rounded with an
rounded.
R.
I don't know
Yeah,
this one.
Rounded. So it's a really amazing software. You can track your time, you can bill from it, you can quote from it, you can do all different types of things. You can do all your tax reporting from it as well. It also brings in your bank feed, so a bit like Zero, but it doesn't need all the things that Zero has. So it's really
Mhm.
good for when you're first starting out, and it's a great price point as well. They've got a lot of really good features. You can add all your expenses in, so you can see in the dashboard daily how much you made and where your profit is and all those different kind of things.
Great, rounded. That's a good one. I'll look into that one. I've been using a lot of Zero Online. One of the first things I do in mentorships when I'm helping women build businesses is actually set up their project management system, so that they can really start to prioritize their tasks. Because, especially for someone who is neurodivergent, we tend to follow the newest thing that's on fire and is the most shiny and we're the most excited about, and many times that's not the best way to build a business, and you can you can start moving all over the place, which I have been guilty of
Absolutely.
for sure. So what kind of project management systems are you helping them put into place, and what are you recommending?
Yeah, so we use a couple. So we've used ClickUp for a very long time in our business. So we've been going 2.5 years now. And that's a really great tool that you can use even on the free plan. There's amazing features that you can use in that. It's one of my personal favorites. I'm not a fan of Monday. I really don't like Monday at all. ClickUp over Monday, hands down, every day of the week. And as you start to scale and bring in a team, we've just started to implement another software called Productive, which is
Mm,
great for managing team time tracking and budgets and profitability and all those different kind of things that you need to start to look at as you grow.
amazing. What do you think of Notion? I found Notion to be very like low level, user friendly, easy to put together, easy templates. It's not the most powerful and it's not very pretty, but it's really cheap and you know you can start to scale with that one. Um, and I found that it's like the UI is pretty easy to get into. Do you like that? Have you used Notion before?
I haven't used Notion a lot, so that's why I wouldn't recommend it at this stage. I have tried Asana, and
Hmm.
Asana's all right for basic, and so's Trello, but ultimately ClickUp has a few more features that are a lot more valuable when you're trying to set it all up. You can have the different projects, you can have different spaces, you know, you can have a secret squirrel list that only you see, you know, which is really important when you're ADHD, especially because all those bright ideas need to go somewhere so that you don't forget them and then they get, you know, scheduled in when it's time.
Yeah, I was using Trello for a lot of years, and I still use it a little bit for some things, but I've actually moved most of the stuff over to Notion. And I always do like a bit of the, you know, I come from not a lot of money, so there's still like this, you know, this bootstrapper in me who likes to keep things as cheap as possible and you know, pay as little as possible for software and so on. And so, like, you know, we always use like only one user and share the login, and which maybe I shouldn't be talking about, but you know, it keeps it in the free plan, and then when you're ready to really start scaling up, you can start adding users and getting a little sexier about it. So
So that's
amazing.
that's one of the benefits of ClickUp. You can actually have multiple users on the free plan.
Oh, that's amazing. I have to
Yeah.
look into that. When I was using ClickUp before, it was quite expensive and I moved away from it and it had like a little too much. It felt a little overwhelming for people that maybe are a lot of my clients tend to be very technology resistant, we'll call it, or maybe feeling overwhelming and they have like really big, amazing offerings and very soul aligned, very passionate and with a lot of expertise and then they like get to the technology and the databases and they just like and that tends to be a block. So it's one of the things I love with being very masculine structures is like coming and setting up being like, listen, I'm gonna just do it for you and then I'm gonna teach you how to use it and all you got to do is do these one two three little clicks. Think, you know, invoices that were taking, you know, 3 hours to put together are now taking 3 seconds with a click of a button, little check boxes. And I don't know about you, I'm guessing we're very similar in that way. We geek out and get joy from creating these really like making things so simple and
Oh,
flowy.
absolutely. I don't want to do anything in 10 clicks. I want to do it in two at the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I know that you also have a business where you're helping people find VAs, virtual assistants. And, you know, I think this is really crucial, especially in the first year of the business. Like, the way that I like the recommendations I usually say is create your processes, figure out how to do things yourself, understand it, and as soon as you understand it and can create a process, that's when it's time to hand it off to someone else, especially if it's outside of your zone of genius, so that you can really stay in that flow doing what you really love because when we get caught up or when women get caught up or anyone really get caught up in doing all the stupid little things that they hate, it tends to create burnout a lot faster. Um, so when do you recommend that people are starting to bring in VAs to do these things? At what kind of stage of building this business?
Yeah, so definitely have the processes first. Super critical that you have those first because I've seen quite a few business owners that have tried to offload and outsource things without them, and it just causes way more headache. And you end up burning through all your cash explaining things to someone else. So definitely get the processes down pat. And then once you've done that and you're ready and you can feel that you can take on more of your zone of genius work, that's when you need to do it. Not after you take that on, before. Because you need to be able to get yourself that space and that time to be able to take that on. And you're not going to be able to do that at the same time as taking on extra work and training someone else to do your processes. So I always say to hire before you're ready. And it can take anywhere from, like, as soon as you're starting to bring in income and you're bringing in enough to sustain what you're doing, then you should be starting to look to outsource as much as you can as possible.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is your recommendation, Carrie, is make sure you're getting to your income part first before starting to outsource. And while you're getting to your income, which sometimes can take a while. I mean, there's been businesses that I've had. I mean, I always tell people I've had 12 businesses, but the reality is it's probably closer to 20 or 24. Because sometimes I'll do like a little side business that's like, you know, I have like a podcast studio in Bali, so I rent that out on the side, and there's processes, and I have other people manage that. And I don't really count that as a business, even though it's actually its own little business. But like, what I've learned is, sometimes it can take me 6 months to a year to even get everything set up. And so sometimes it takes a little bit either capital to get it all set up, or the trade-off, you can either put in money and do it faster, or you can kind of do it all yourself, but it just takes a lot longer. And there's kind of a balance in between that when building a business, which is go get the help that you need to really rocket ship yourself quicker, and while you're building those processes, or take the time, do it all yourself, which sometimes can be frustrating. And sometimes you get to something, like building a Airtable database or something of the sort, or a form, and it's just outside of your what you love to do, and then it ends up taking you weeks, a month, and then you get blocked from doing what you actually really care about. So, one thing I like to say is, if it's outside of your zone of genius, if you really hate it and you try it and it feels like you're banging your head against the wall, that's when it's time to get help, to hire someone like yourself or myself to help bring in that to get you to the next level much quicker,
Absolutely.
and just yeah, just offload the stuff you just hate to do.
Yeah, what people don't really understand is that speed's actually, to get that speed, that's an investment in the business. So you can hold on until you really do hit that income level if that's really important to you because you've got commitments and that's the way it needs to be. But if you can find that money and put that money aside, even if it's short project work just to get them in, sometimes you can get people in to come in and do process extraction. So we've done that for clients before. We do project work, we come in, we extract the processes out of the owner's head, we build the processes, get it all put into a database, and they're ready to rock and roll to actually outsource. Or sometimes you can even get people like us or virtual assistants who can come in and just do mini projects just to get that little next bit done, or a small package of 5 or 10 hours a month just to get you started and then scale it up as you go. So
Yeah.
all those things to get that speed are an investment in the business, and the speed is actually way more valuable than waiting, to be honest.
Yeah, it really can be, especially if what you're offering is relevant to the now. And I do a program talking about the 6 steps to soul purpose success. And the one of them is, the first one is to really understand and uncover what it is that you want to be doing that's really heart centered. And then, and once you do that, then the second step is to make it really relevant to the world. Because maybe there's something you really love to do and you think it's so cool and so awesome, but if it's not relevant to others, it's not going to be successful. And it's like, if you're not solving problems for other people, like you're solving a problem from other people, right? You're coming in, and then the next step is start building the machine, I call it, which is all the stuff that you're talking about. This is, it could be your funnels, your marketing, your ads, your business processes, your project management systems, your finances, your accounting, your taxes, the back end taxes. And it's interesting because every business has a lot of similarities in the components that you need to build to make it successful without it being complete chaos.
Yes.
I have some people I mentored, and they're really good at what they do, and their processes and their systems are so chaotic that it just creates frustration. And I had something happen the other day that was like, you know, they thought they were selling retreats, and they thought that someone was actually closing the sales, but then they weren't closing any of the sales. And then there was all these leads just sitting there that wanted it, but they didn't get closed. And it was just like, oh my God, this is like, there needs to be a better system here. And So it's like without these systems and processes, which can be really daunting to some people, without them, it creates a lot of chaos and anxiety in the business, and a lot of things get dropped that are really useful, like the important clients. Um, and do you feel, and then, another part of the process is actually once that machine is built, you're actually getting it out there into the world it's starting to turn. And I have found it can be really frustrating. You think you have all the components and the machine is built, and you go and you pull the cord to turn it on like a old school lawnmower, and then and then it doesn't work, and you're like, oh man, I got to build this new thing, or I got to change the process, or I have to make it more relevant, and it's a lot of refinement, which can be really frustrating. And I think this is a point that a lot of people can give up because they think it's just not working, when in reality is you need to stay the course, and you need to just keep refining and figuring out where the failure points are, and do you need to get help on those failure points? Do you need to get advice? Do you need a mentor? Do you need a coach on that? Or do you just need a friend to step in and just kind of help you, point you in the right direction?
Yeah, so processes are always a work in progress. Like
Yeah.
they're never final. They will always be a work in progress because the processes that you have when you first started aren't going to get you to the next bracket that you want to get to. They will always need improvement. So it's a constant thing that needs to happen in the business. They will need refinement, they will need improvement, you need to build efficiency, and all those things will only come with time and testing. So it's just so common, but people go, oh yeah, I've written the processes once, and either they never look at them again, which is quite often what happens in corporate, or it's stuck in some folder somewhere in some cupboard gathering dust, or in our kind of space, they just need to be redefined constantly. And it's not a failure. All it is just feedback, right? So it just gives us something to go, okay, well, that just needs a tiny little tweak, and then that'll be more efficient. And all those tiny little tweaks over the years makes you really super efficient. And that's what you want to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's preaching to the choir for me. My employees are they always laugh because I tell them in the beginning, listen, I'm never going to get mad if you make a mistake, but when a mistake happens or a failure point happens, you have to create a process so that it can never happen again. And the
Yes.
only time I get upset or frustrated is when people don't follow processes because they're there for a reason. And part of that is a bit of my neurodivergence there, I'm sure, and like liking the organization. But to give you an example, I had a business in New York for 18 years, and I was teaching business processes to top CEOs and companies, and tens of thousands of people, training software. Wrote like 50 books on this stuff. And at the end of the business, when I went to sell it, I said to them, "Listen." They wanted to negotiate the golden handcuffs for me to stay on because they wanted to make sure the business would not fall apart after I
Yep.
left. I said, "Listen, I will stay on indefinitely, years, and I will answer every single question that you ask on one condition. You have to read my business processes first. And if you do that and you can't find the answer, I will spend as much time as necessary, even if it's hours, to walk you through how to do something." So a few days later, they called me up. They said, "Listen, I need to know how to do this." I said, "Did you read the processes? Did you look?" They said, "No, not yet." I said, "Go read the processes. Call me if you can't find it." Didn't call me back. 3 weeks later, they called me. They said, "Listen, we read through the processes. We can't find this thing." And it was like something like really obscure. It was like updating an SSL certificate on a private server that you do once in every 3 to 5 years. I was like, you
Yep.
know what? Okay, it's not in there. I'm going to walk you through that. I walked them through that. Those were the only two times in a business I had 18 years because my processes were so freaking solid. And I just forced all my employees, which were actually mostly women because I was hiring mostly women even back then, you know, is it just forced them to always update the processes, and like, because and I know that this is something that you feel passionate about, and this kind of is your zone of genius. Man, it is really, really important to be building these processes. And I get frustrated when they don't get followed because, you can spend sometimes an hour or two building a process and it works and you've tested it and it's got a video and a walkthrough and a step by step. And then someone just goes a complete different way and it's not working and it's taking them 5 hours. You're like, why is it taking you 5 hours? And then it's like, and you realize they're not following the process, or they didn't understand it, or they're missing a
Yeah.
component, or there was a little piece missing that they were getting stuck on. So, man, yeah, it's so important, so important. How long is it taking you if you're going in to extract, let's say uh, there's some processes in there, there's some chaos in the business. Do you find that you can go in a few hours and try to like help out with that, or does it take a long time?
So it depends on the business and the fires that are currently burning, is how I like to put it. um, so if it's a straight out process extraction, when we're working with the owner who's like, it's all in my head and I just haven't got it down on paper, then we usually do like a 10-hour pack, and that's usually enough to get everything out that we need, all the main
Mm,
important key things, and we can extract those out, put them in documents or put them in somewhere like Confluence so that they can store all their processes in one place. Um, so that's kind of that. But usually, when we go into a business, it can take us about 3 months on average to go through and actually get to the point where we're ready to start improving. Because once we get in there, we find that there's so many things that are on fire that we have to kind of put everything out first and understand why they're on fire in the first place, find the root cause of that so that it doesn't happen again, and fix it there. And that whole process can sometimes take 3 months.
yeah. And, one thing I feel like I want to encourage people who are starting the first year of business and they're starting out building these processes is one sort of major mistake that I have made personally multiple times, sadly, and I've seen a lot of other people make is not focusing on one core offer or product
Yep.
and thinking they need so many packages that are in all the places that serve all the different people at all the different times. And there's a really encouragement if you are a woman or someone starting your businesses, get to one product, service, or offering, depending on what field you're in. Get to one first and then keep hitting that hard and stay with that one until you get that one working and running. Because when you have one service or product, it requires the same amount of foundational sort of back end admin processes, finances. It's all the same. So
Yep.
adding a second one is actually really easy, but when you're trying to like put out multiple products or offerings at a time, it confuses people, number one. Number two, your advertising, your marketing, your messaging's all over the place. Guilty on that one many times. And
Everyone's been there.
well, yeah, I know we've been there. The ADHD thing is definitely is it's a bit of a something to kind of get over get over in that one. Uh, but like get to that first thing and then keep hitting that, getting those processes until that one works, getting that marketing. Sometimes you need funnels depending on what you're doing. Sometimes you need advertising, and sometimes you need help with all of that too. And then once you get that one working, that's when you start adding in the virtual assistants. That's when you start bringing in maybe a bookkeeper or a tax person. That's when you
Yep.
start bringing in maybe a marketing or whatever it is. And that's when you start getting the help to do that. And it's hard to find good help, and it's much harder to find good help if you don't have your processes. Basically, if your processes are in place, you can hire a much lower costing person than if your processes are not in place. And I'm talking, you know, we're talking sometimes between $10, $30 an hour difference, right? So
Yes.
it's a significant one because if you have solid practices, someone can just be like, I do X, I do Y, I do Z, and then I got to do these things. Whereas, like, if you don't have that, then you need someone that's a lot smarter that can actually figure it out and do it for you. So, Get to that one, get to that one offering, the one service, one product first, build the machine to get that one working, and then you can start offering extras or upgrades or verticals or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's much easier to just focus on the one. It's great for marketing, it's great for sales, it makes everything simple, and simple is better when it comes to business.
Simple as, but wow, yeah. Can you just say that again, Carrie? When it comes to business,
When it comes to business, simple is better.
simple is better. Yeah, how many of us have overcomplicate things? I do that all the time. Always are overcomplicating things. Many times I over-engineer things because I love the processes so much. I just want to make sure it's works and it's automated and I can press one button and it does all the things. But you need to balance the automation with how much time and energy it takes to set up the automation.
Yep.
So, sometimes it can take 3 hours to set up the automation, but it's only taking you 2 minutes every time you do it. So it's like, when do you start automating? It's when things are annoying and are
When
constantly
you 50 of
happening.
the 2 minutes that you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got
Right.
52 minutes, then it's worth it, right? If you're
Yeah,
doing the
that's
two
right.
minutes every once in a while, then maybe you
Yeah.
don't automate it. But I mean, as much as I can automate things, and I found some really great tools to be doing that. Like I've been doing a lot of the people I'm mentoring, the women I'm mentoring, we're doing a lot of integrations in between, like using ManyChat. So when people are messaging them on Instagram, there's like a
Yep.
conversation, and then if they press the right button and then that sends that to make.com and or to Zapier, and then that's integrating with their content management systems and these CRMs, etc. And then that does things and tags and email funnels, and it's pushing everything around. That took me a while. Sometimes it take a while to set that up. So sometimes it's better just to, you know, get someone
At the
else to do
beginning,
that for you.
yeah, at the beginning, I probably wouldn't worry too much about automation, like
Yeah.
especially when you're first starting up, because the beauty of not having the automation is you actually get to understand the process first and then tweak it, and you don't build the automation until you're happy with the process.
Hmm.
So,
So
you know,
so true.
you can't scale complicated. So everything needs to be as simple as possible, and even your processes need to be simple. So if you find that something that you're building takes you 10 different steps and three different systems to go through in order to deliver what you need to do, maybe it's time to actually review what that's doing. Is that
And
really
why you're
the best
doing
way
it.
to do that, and why you're doing it? And that's one of the biggest things that we really push in our processes, is that you must understand the why, because we always build out that why framework within the process, because if you don't understand the why, you don't understand what you're touching and what you could possibly break and why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
Mm.
And that
Yeah,
can be a game changer for your processes.
I love that wisdom, Carrie. We build the processes, keep them as simple as possible. Once it's running and we're happy and it's working, that's when we start to automate it through in these systems. And I'm very curious where AI is going to take us now that we have all these agents that are starting to pop in. They're not quite that useful yet, but in the next year, it's probably going to be a game changer. And it's going to be a whole nother skill level. It's going to be a whole other skill to learn how to use the agents, to build the processes, to do the things, and then those are going to have its problems. So, that would be actually a great business to start. Honestly, is AI, like teaching AI agents and things that are more practical or making it easy for people. As those come in. But everyone talks about AI is going to take over all these jobs, and the reality is a lot of this stuff that we're doing and I'm still doing is still it needs a person. It needs a
Yes.
person to make good decisions, and AI is it's touting so much stuff, but I found it to be actually very unreliable. Even a lot of this video editing stuff, it's just not working. It just
Yep.
doesn't work, and like you need someone that really gets it and understands human beings,
Yeah.
which will
You do,
probably change in the
especially
next
like
couple of
some of the
years.
stuff that we do is team management, right? You can't outsource that to AI,
Yeah.
right? That requires a level of emotional intelligence that AI just does not have yet.
Yeah,
So
correct. And it might take a while to get there.
yeah,
It'll
that's
take a
right.
while
So
to
I'm
get
good
there.
for a couple of years.
Yeah. You're good. Yeah.
Hey,
I think we're all good for a couple of years. So listen, so as a review, first year of business, set up your finances, your business processes, focus on one core product or offering. That's going to force you to create all the systems to it. And then once you're really happy and those systems are flowing, money comes in. That's when you start bringing in other people, virtual assistants. That's when you start building your automations. And that's when we start scaling. That's the kind of the time frame to start scaling. And Carrie, as we come to the end, I just want to thank you for being on the show. If you want to connect directly with Carrie, we have a couple places. The first one is, let me just get out the website so I say it properly. The adminsuperheroes.com is if you want to need help in actually getting some VAs, building these processes, etc. On Instagram, she's the admin superheroes, at the admin superheroes, and also her personal one is Carrie McGilvray, McGilvray. Let me say that again because Carrie could be spelled different ways. KerrieMcGilvray. I'll put it in the show notes, and I really appreciate it. And I love how dedicated you are to the systems, the operations, and the processes. And so feel free to message Carrie if you want any help with that. And if you are a woman who wants help uncovering her soul's purpose and building a business, I have a 1 year program and some one-on-one mentorship. And I give scholarships for that too, for anyone that maybe isn't a great place. Because I really want to see women step into their power and make a big impact in the world. And women tend to be more heart-centered, quite frankly. So I feel like that's part of my purpose in this world. So thank you everyone for being there. Thank you, Carrie, for being with us, and everyone
thanks
have
for
an
having me.
amazing day.
Thank you.